Hey guys, Dr. Ben here. Welcome to a Power Pack Brokerpreneur Byte. Get ready to dive into proven strategies for recruiting top talent, retaining your best agents, and skyrocketing sales in the next 10 minutes. I'm your host, of course, Dr. Ben Spears, along with our real estate guru, Matt Vi. Join us as we unravel the secrets to take your brokerage to new heights. Let's dive in.
The key thing with us, though, we're not preaching stay in your comfort zone, and we're not preaching be terrified of what's changing. Okay. So there's a fine line between the two, and how you make adjustments of whether abandon or adapting is by taking a look at the why behind whether you're terrified or the why of why you're comfortable with it. Right.
Yeah.
And that comes from understanding the difference between activity and accomplishment. Okay. Are you doing something that's just making new things happen and getting the same exact results? Or are you doing things because you're trying something and you're paying attention to it and you're testing it and you're afraid of what the results are going to be, good, bad, or ugly?
Yeah.
And you're testing it to see whether you can make adjustments in what you do so that you can hold on to that accomplishment part a little bit better, because you actually know what caused that accomplishment instead of just doing activity that makes you feel like you're doing things different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that same thing of activity versus accomplishment leads into also the result that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Are you looking for more agents? Are you looking for better agents? Are you looking for more office space? Or are you just looking for your office space to be more functional?
Right.
Right. And so I'm bringing that up because, again, we of course talk about recruiting on so many levels, but the same thing that we're talking about doesn't only apply to recruiting.
Right.
It applies to absolutely everything in your business. And because the same thing with your staff and admin.
Yep.
Right. Like the same, they've got a process, you've given them a process. They may love it, they may hate it, but you may be changing that up on them
Right.
every other week because you read a book or you listen to something on YouTube and no, this is going to be way better. This is going to be way better. It's really, no, it's going to be way different. It's going to be way different. It may be better. I'm not saying it.
That's right. It might not be better.
Yeah.
Somebody else got better results is what you're saying. But sometimes when you're doing it, it's just more.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's not better.
Yeah. And it's like running in quicksand.
Yep. Yep. And so making sure that you're paying attention to what is actually the activity that's getting the results you want is going to be critical. But that means starting with, what is it that you really want? Do you want more? So we talk about leads with agents when we're having conversations. Do the agents just want, we had one of our recruiting recaps went into this a little bit. Do you just want more leads, or do you want better leads as an agent? Mm-hmm. Do you want more leads in a certain zip code? Do you want more leads in a certain area? Do you want more leads in a certain price point? Or do you just want better leads from your actual sphere of influence? All of those things matter. You got to have those conversations when it comes to leads. So that means the same thing is true when you're having conversations with recruits. Are you just trying to get more recruits, or are you trying to build a better pipeline? Or is it both? Because it might be both. We've talked about the difference between gross hires and net hires and all that kind of stuff. All of those things, there's not a right and wrong in this. It's just making sure that you understand which one you're looking for in order to get the results that you want.
Yeah. So, but if there was a right or wrong,
mm-hmm.
You'd be right.
Until I was wrong.
Okay. So we talked activity versus accomplishment. We've talked more versus better. We've barely touched on the surface of right versus wrong. And, and we're not going to go any further than that.
Not in this episode, but in
not in this episode.
Exactly. Recruiting podcast.
The final episode.
That's right. Matt and Ben discuss right and wrong.
Yeah. The difference between right and wrong. It's hard to make things repeatable when things are always changing.
Yep.
But once you say, hey, okay, I get it. I change everything. I'm going to stop doing that. And I'm going to use something until I know like it's right or wrong.
Yep.
But you have to know that thing that you choose is repeatable and is scalable.
100%.
So touch on that for me a little bit.
Yeah. So both of those are so important. So the last thing that I would want to have happen to a manager is them look back at the end of 2021 and go, holy crap, that is my best recruiting year ever. Man, I hired Betty Sue and she's killing it. Jimmy Joe is killing it. Billy Bob is killing it. 98 other people, they're just crushing it. Everybody's got listings. Nobody can find them. We're just tearing it apart. I have no idea how I did that.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
I think they just knocked on the door. I think they all just said, hey, this is awesome. Where do I sign? Because we know that's not the way it works.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Or you start saying, oh my God, Jimmy Joe only came because of this, and Betty Sue only came because of this, and so because of this. And then all of a sudden you have 84,000 different reasons why people actually showed up and what you said to bring them on board, because then it can't be repeatable. Because something I can promise you is real estate has attrition. And if you can't figure out why it happened, if you can't figure out how to repeat it, if you can't measure it in order to understand what could possibly happen again, the issue is you're doomed to next year, the year after, whenever it is, have to reinvent that elusive, mysterious success that you have, which makes it really difficult to do.
Yeah. And a good point to add to that is a lot of us will recruit or feel like we need to recruit based on different trends.
Right.
Instead of having a system that just works year after year.
Right.
Maybe it's, gosh, I got all these agents because I was able to, and this isn't a horrible thing, just do this in addition. I was able to recruit all these agents because I just came up with a brilliant COVID strategy of recruiting.
Right.
Whereas hopefully, knock on wood, fingers crossed, like 2025, we're not still talking about COVID.
Right.
And so that COVID strategy, if that was the only strategy that brought this huge influx in, yeah, maybe it was very smart and you do know how to repeat that. But all of a sudden, COVID isn't a thing anymore.
Yeah.
And you're like, gosh, I had a good run.
Yeah. I sure hope we get another pandemic so I can recruit.
Yeah, I hope COVID 20 is around the corner.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. So that brings up a bunch of great points. But how you initiate the conversation is a trend.
Yeah.
How you follow through is not. And that is absolutely what
that's a good point.
People to do. Okay.
Yeah. So smart.
Yeah. So that really is the difference between us and anybody else that you would talk to. Everybody else literally sells you a product that's the same, and they tell you how to figure it out to what's going on in the circumstances around you. That is the opposite of what we do. We say, here's the things that we know work in this part of the process consistently, regardless of where you are. Here's the other things that we need to adapt to how it works in your market and how you need to do things so that you can succeed with it. That's why we're kick-ass.
Yeah.
But
little plug there.
Yeah,
I like it.
Sorry, I didn't mean it. That didn't mean to get
Go to prospectboomerang.com.
That's right. No. So one of the things that you have to look at in order to get to that point and in order to have a process that way is, how do you measure? We talked about that. What's your scoreboard, right?
Yep.
When you're looking at your scoreboard, and when you can tell whether something's scalable and whether you can tell it's repeatable and whether you've decided whether it's more versus better, like we've talked about, and is it activity or accomplishment, at that point, it's automatically going to bring you to that precipice. It's going to bring you to that point where you're going to say, okay, I know what to do. I've looked through all these different steps. I've paid attention to this. I've taken my measurements and I know that I can't scale here. And this has helped me understand how to do this better. And this was just activity because I didn't get the results I want. It's time for me to let that go. The point is, if you're tracking things the way that you need to, if you're taking a close look at what it is that you're offering and how you're offering it, if you've got other people involved in the process, the whole quandary of abandon versus adapt is going to go away. It's going to be crystal clear to you because you're going to know how to deal with it, because the data, the information, the results are all going to point to, yes, do more of this. Maybe you need to refine here. Maybe you need to be more efficient here, but let's adapt, compared to, yeah, we're keeping track of it and this sucks. It's time to move on. That's so a lot of people struggle with databases when it comes to recruiting databases. That's where they run into a lot of issues with that, is they don't pay close attention to the results that they got. They're just looking at, am I doing this product and am I hiring people? They're not looking at all the other steps in between that. And so they go, oh yeah, the database isn't working for me, or this lead source isn't working for me, or whatever the deal is, because they don't know how to analyze it. And that's why the products that we offer, I'm not getting into a pitch, but that's why the products that we offer are free. You pay for
Yeah.
the
Well, absolutely. And yeah, I have a question here.